Hey folks, hope you're doing good today. Sorry I missed you yesterday, was just feeling a bit rough yesterday, couldn't be doing with it. And today, if my skin looks nice and glistening, it's not because I've got a good skincare regime or something like that, it's pure sweat. Because today is 62 humidity and 30 degrees. Man, it's absolute sweatbox here in Portugal, Jesus. Today we're going to check out a really cool band who I've immediately got on board with before I've even listened to a second of their music, because I've read their bio here and I've just really enjoyed what these guys have said about themselves. This band is called Soul Ether, and I'll just read out a bit of this. I'm not going to read the whole bio because it is quite long, but it says, "We're obsessed about DIY, and we like most musicians, we started out with no guidebook to the endless gear landscape in the music production." And if you've ever got into the doing DAWs and stuff like that, you'll know that's very true. These guys started out in 2016. They started out playing gigs and as a two-piece, then they became a three-piece. But this is the part that I really want to talk about. It says here, "We started recording almost immediately and every jam and every time." And that is what I've said on this channel so many frigging times now. And I urge every single band out there to do this, or bedroom musician, whatever. Every time you practice, every time you jam, even with yourself just at home, do it through your DAW, record it, listen back to it, and you're going to get so much out of doing that. New riffs, new ideas, picking up where you need to focus in on your practicing and doing better at that stuff. Riffs that work, riffs that don't work, riffs that work in your head that don't actually work once you've kind of done them on and played them out. That happens all the time with me, and it's just so useful to be recording yourself. It says here they were armed with a Focusrite Scarlett, a Shure SM57, and a Frankenstein drum set, and a Reaper DAW, and we went on to record the riffs that would become our first song. This process became an obsession, and every weekend they were recording a new jam, every week going back and scouring the riffs, composing, rewriting, recording, and nitpicking. And that's what I'm saying. When you listen back to yourself, you get to hear yourself in a different way to when you're actually playing it. And you might think you're the sickest shredder when you're actually playing, but when you listen to the recording back, you go, actually, Jesus, a lot of those notes aren't on the beat or whatever. Or it could actually be the different. You think, man, I'm crap on guitar, I sound like rubbish. But actually, when you've recorded yourself, you think, actually, that's not too bad. I'm kind of pleased myself there. So it works both ways. There's so much you can get out of it. Says, "We soon realised we had reached the quality and workflow cap on the gear that we owned, and more specifically the gear that we didn't. And then they went off and got loads of different gear, tried out a bunch of other stuff, and now they're trying to give other people advice on what gear would be matched to them as well." Because I did the same thing when I first got into music production. You get a bunch of VSTs that come with your DAW, and really that's all you need to begin with. But like most people, I went off scouring free VSTs, got about 100 different reverbs and compressors and all the different things, and just got total kind of option lock, and couldn't, I ended up just deleting them all pretty much. And now I've just focused in on the ones that I like, the ones that I use, and not worrying too much about what else is out there. Because I think when you first start out, you can just think, man, I need this, I need that. And you can end up spending a hell of a lot of money as well if you want to buy all the expensive stuff. And you might find actually you never really use it. So there you go. But I love what these guys are doing. There's a whole bunch more here if you want to read on about that. How about they're now a two-piece basically at the end of it all, but they're moving now on to their next album. They finished this album, and they're really kind of geared up to move on to their next project and get stuff done. Check out some new gear and stuff, this and that. I just love it. So I'm straight on board with this band before we've even listened to a second of their 7-minute, 34-minute track, which I am really interested to check out as well, because these guys are doing exactly what I advise every single band to do out there. And I know that they're getting an absolute ton out of it, because that's what happens. Sick. The track we're going to check out today has got hashtag black metal, ambient, and doom, which are very nice hashtags to have. It's a 7.5-minute track. It's called Golden Head. Let's get into it. Yeah. Nice big mix. Cool. Great drumming.
I sent them to the snake. I am the golden head. My name is God.
drums are so great. I'm not sure if they're MIDI drums or real drums. They're MIDI drums. They're some of the best programmed drums I've ever heard. It sounds so great. It sounds so natural. Sick. Loved it. Man. I'm not sure if they used MIDI drums or real drums in this, because nowadays it's really hard to tell. I get the feeling that they were MIDI drums, and that actually impresses me even more than if it was a real drummer. If it was a real drummer, absolutely sick drumming, and you know exactly how to move a track, move a section from one section to the next, and even mix up the beat within the same section to keep things interesting, rolling, flowing, dynamic, and just all the right things. The drumming was perfect in terms of moving from one section to the next, but it had more than that. It had frills and spicy bits, sick rolls down the toms, mixing it up every fourth bar so that the whole 8 bars didn't have the same beat to it. Really, really interesting drumming. Absolutely loved it, and they sounded great as well. But the way they sounded made me think that it was a MIDI kit, because they had a real nice punch and a clarity to them, which you don't tend to get from real kits quite so much. But whoever if it wasn't a real drummer, if it was a real drummer, you're absolutely sick on the drums. If it wasn't a real drummer and those are programmed drums, they're some of the best programmed drums I've heard, because they were really dynamic and natural sounding beats and flows and humanization, to where I honestly couldn't tell if it was a real drummer or not. Maybe it had been done on an E-kit by a real drummer. But I don't know. It just sounded so great, is all I do know. And the drum beats in there were so sick. It kept the music so interesting for me. The drummer was really the primary instrumentalist within this band, because at times the guitarists were just going down, 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 over and over again. But because the drummer was mixing it up, spicing it up, changing the beats up, it felt like you were going through different sections, but actually the guitar was doing the same thing. And that's when you know the drummer's taken it to the next level. And that's the control that the drummer has over music. You know, most people think the vocalist or the guitarist are the lead within the band. It's not actually true. It's the drummer controls everything that goes on within the band, and can add even more to that as well. So whoever controlled the drums, whoever programmed them, whoever played the drums, whatever, you did an absolutely sick job, and I loved every second of what went on with the drums and the sound of them as well. But the whole sound was great. The guitar sounded great. That bass sounded sick coming in, and you could hear it sliding up and down the neck and doing stuff within the mix. The vocals sat in there really nicely, had a nice amount of reverb. There was delayed sections and atmosphere to them. Really liked the singing part as well, manly singing, and atmospheric as well, brought like a post-metal edge to it as well. I didn't get get a lot of doom or ambient out of this, I would say, with these hashtags that they got going on here. I would have said this was more deathy and like Black and Death. Sick, loved it. The vocal, guttural and gravelly, sounded dope. And just so many sections, high-level guitaring, cool riffs, shredding out and stuff. I think it would have been nice if they could somehow get hold of a solo for this kind of stuff, because I would have really liked a real shreddy solo to go with this one as well. Would have been nice. But other than that, 7.5 minutes didn't feel like a long track to me, because the drummer was so interesting, had so much going on. You know, your focus and your attention was always captured by that, or at least was for me, to where, you know, time drifts away at that. You could just listen to him doing that for an hour and it would still capture your attention for every second of it. Love it. So I was on board with this band before we even listened to their music, and now we have listened to their music, I'm absolutely fully on board with this band. So if you want to get on board with this band, now is the time to do it, because they got 4 subscribers. This video's got 7 views. So these guys are just out the gate now with this stuff, even though they did start in 2016, but because of COVID and everything else, you know, they've had setbacks and people leaving the band and trying to find band. They said they tried to find a bunch of band members and half of them were intoxicated or toxic, and it didn't work out. Well, that's generally how it goes. That's why I love being in a one-man band so much. But I would say to these guys, if it's working out as a 2-piece band, and you can get this job done as a 2-piece. I think this was done as a 3-piece, what we've listened to today, and their next stuff is going to just be a 2-piece. If you can get this quality and this level of, you know, production and everything else as a 2-piece, I'd stay as a 2-piece, because the more people you get involved with the band, these guys know that already, and they're only a 3-piece, the more problems that do actually come with that. So if you can work it out with the fewest members possible, that would be my advice, but that's probably just because I'm an introvert, asocial asshole as well. But you know, I just really like the idea of 2 guys putting their heads together with a bunch of gear and having the, you know, the means to get it recorded and stuff, and just going at it as a 2-piece. And if that's working out for them, you know, stick with it. Don't necessarily think you've got to be a 4-piece band or something like that, unless they want to play live stuff. I mean, it's different when you're playing live stuff, whatever. I really enjoyed this band. I've gone on about them too much. Yeah, we made a 17-minute video out of it, but I really enjoyed this band, so I want them to keep sending over their music. I'm really interested to see how it goes for them as a 2-piece, but also, you know, checking out the new gear and stuff that they want to do, and just the fact that these guys are doing what I advise every single band out there to do. And if I can get one band to actually do it, I'll have kind of succeeded. Is when you're jamming, when you're just playing at home, playing your guitar, whatever, always play through a DAW and always record it, or just have it ready to record, so that if you come up with a cool riff, you can just hit record and record it straight away, because there's so much kind of value that can come out of doing that. It'll make you a better musician, a better composer, a better recorder and mixer and masterer, and all the things. There's so many skills that you can get from just recording yourself playing. It's really the way to go, and it's so easy to do nowadays as well, even as a full band. So there you go. Hopefully see this band back on the channel soon. All the best with the 2-piece stuff, and I'm really interested to see what happens with that. Absolutely enjoyed this track today, and just the whole vibe of the band. Sick. See you around tomorrow, guys. Cheers. Bye.